Good evening, guys.
Good evening,
ma'am.
How are y'all?
Good, how are you?
Great. Thanks for being here.
Thank you all for inviting me down just to chat a bit by this wonderful fire,
Hey,
this beautiful night.
We are.
So glad you made it.
Yeah, thanks so much for making the time. I appreciate it.
Of course.
You all have such a great experience here at the Academy, you know, that I wanted to get your thoughts and feedback on your experiences here.
More than happy to.
Great.
More than happy.
So just tell me a little bit about why you came to the Academy first. If you can just take a couple seconds to talk about your journey and how you got to the Academy.
Okay.
Mr. Fidelman?
All right. Well, my story started off kind of like a lot of people. I was a little bit, it was COVID, right? So everybody was kind of lost with their grades and not a lot of structure in school, and you didn't have to go to school, and there was really no reason to get your assignments done. Whereas A&A was open the entire time. A&A put in the work to keep everybody afloat. And I ended off freshman year with a 4.0 GPA, good grades. And I think it's really important because, you know, A&A is definitely much different than Carlsbad High School, for instance. It's a place with a low population. So people are a lot closer, a lot more bonds. You see the same people every day. You're the sum of your peers. And I would say that with this place being as structured as it is and with the culture that it has, it's definitely a place where you can thrive easily, where we can be friends and keep those friendships for a long time. I'm still talking to many of the people who don't even go here anymore because of the bonds that the school allowed me to form. So,
when I was in 7th grade at my old public school, just clocking in at school and then leaving and doing nothing. And so I actually told them that I wanted to go because at the time my brother was a junior. 5 years later, I'm now here. So, yeah.
For me, it's kind of the same as Cole's story. I started off, I was at school in Massachusetts, and then I got really homesick, came home, was homeschooled for 8th grade and 9th grade, and I told my mom I didn't want to go back to high school. I was just like, I'm done. I'm very content being at home with you. And she's like, no. So we started looking for schools, and this school really appealed to me at first because there's no other school like almost in the world like this. Like, what school can you say is like right on the beach, has its own rec hall. I get to play 3 sports and be completely content with it. Yeah, I got to give this a try. And yeah, here I am almost at the end of my 3rd year. And it's been an incredible journey for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say anything groundbreaking here in saying that COVID was hard for all of us, but especially for me. I'd gone from charter school in 8th grade, had that cut short, and then tried out a new, Catholic school, 9th grade. Absolutely hated it. So the next option was, well, why not a military school? Why not a boarding school? My mom had just moved to Nevada to take care of my grandparents full time. So I made the decision, if they're going to be on the West Coast, I am too, but have a little bit of separation, go to a boarding school, figure myself out, and now, you know, almost 3 years later, I think I've done that. So,
Great.
yeah.
You know, ma'am, if I could ask, from your perspective, what is the virtue that you want all cadets to kind of gain from here? You know, what is, for anyone that's gonna come, be perspective to come, what kind of transformation do you want out of kids?
Yes, so I think it is all of our values together, to me, that make up a virtuous young man. So the notion of honor and integrity, respect, responsibility, and compassion and gratitude for others. And I think you all have talked a little bit about that, right? How people had the compassion for you to help you, right?
Right.
And how you think about the other 300 cadets here and what do they need that they don't even know they need.
Right.
That is virtue in and of itself, and this notion of selflessness. And so when you look at we call them our words on the wall, our 6 values, you know, that together forms, I think, a strength of character that is virtue, and it's virtuous. And so that's, I hope that you all are leaving with that and feel like that. If you want to talk a little bit about that,
yeah,
we can chat about it.
I think it's really important to have a school like this nowadays. A lot of people are lost. A lot of people on social media are maybe doing the wrong things. People are being influenced in a negative way. And this school, when you get here, you instantly have kind of a guide. You have an outlined guide on how to be virtuous, how to be somebody who's successful at whatever you set your mind to. The words on the wall, if you follow those, you're going to have a good life. You're going to have a productive life. You're going to have a life where you look back and you're like, okay, this is something that I'm proud of. And I think a lot of times nowadays, a lot of kids our age don't exactly have that guidance, which makes it all the more necessary.
You know, I think he brings up a good point. This school is having that guide for kids that come in and need it, but also not hand-holding. So it's a really important distinction. So you want to be able to give kids the autonomy. You want to be able to give leaders the autonomy to make, you know, hard decisions, you know, do the hard right over the easy wrong, and make these choices and not handhold them. You know, they need to be able to do things wrong. They need to be able to make mistakes and kind of learn from that. Because personally, that's what gave me the most value out of this place, was making hard decisions, you know, failing a lot, you know, so that's what I think, though.
Yeah, exactly. I think just like Tate said, there's been a lot of failures in my time. There's been a lot of come to life moments about understanding like what actually needs to be done. I think the people in the school are also a huge factor. Like the lifelong friends that I've made from this place is kind of unbelievable. The kids here, when I come back to school, these are the kids I enjoy being around every day. And so being here with them on a day-to-day basis for the last 3 years has probably been one of the greatest gifts to me, because being like with these guys here, it shows a lot of, it shows exactly like our stories say, like how much the school's actually done for each and every one of us. Yeah,
and I feel pretty qualified to speak on the honor part of it, because being president of the Honor Council, I see the mistakes kids make every day. I mean, you know, I'll get the report of what someone's done, and it's like, oh man, not again, or what is this, or, you know, the simple mistakes that kids are allowed to make here. We're not gonna throw you out because, you know, you cheated on a test or you did something you didn't. We're here to embrace the mistakes, and we're here to make sure that you don't make them in the future. And, you know, once we have the council, when we get them in the room, the thing I hope they leave with is that this is not a punishment, right? We're not here to antagonize you. We're only here to help. This part of the process is here to ensure that you're here one day. When, you know, when you're a freshman and you're being brought to Honor Council, one day you're gonna be on the Honor Council, and that, you know, freshman is gonna be someone else. You're gonna be able to relate to them because you've made those mistakes before. And, you know, but I can only take them so far. I mean, like Tate said, I'm not into hand holding, right? Once I bang the gavel, once the trial is finished, you've got to make the change on your own. Make it better. Don't waste the tears, just actions speak a lot louder than words. So go and do something about it.
And that's the unique thing about this school. It's like, it puts you in the positions where you can make those choices to get better. In this school, well, yeah, you'll be put on Honor Council. Yeah, you cheated, right? There's some punishment for that, but you get to climb up out of that.
Right.
You get to pick yourself up, and the school fosters that. It's not going to keep you from a leadership position. If you show up the next week 3 times better than you were the week before, people are going to take heed of that, and you're going to have a chance just like everybody else.
Exactly. I think that's exactly right.
And so talking about the Honor Council and the honor code and all of the standards here that we have, we do that to build habits of excellence, right? That you'll take on the rest of your lives. What habits are you guys going to take with you as you head into college and beyond?
I think honestly for me, it's just there's a lot of healthy habits I learned about being on time, about being like I'm not gonna have a uniform in college, but just being in the correct in like the appropriate clothing, and just the way you present yourself to people. This school has taught me a lot about going through life and being able to giving someone respect will show you a lot, because at the beginning kids don't really receive being told what to do well by other kids, but then once you realize that it's just how this school works and you have to adjust to it, and when you're nice to another kid, you get shown the same like kindness back. I think that will carry on with me for a very long time.
I think the best habit I've developed here, maybe it's a skill, it's either one, is time management. Certainly time management, because your day's really regimented. You know, and I do sports, I do clubs, I take a full course load, and I'm the battalion commander or whatever else. I have a lot of stuff going on. And so it's helped me manage that a lot through the system. But I think it is important to note that the school helps you build the habits, but it's very important to know or keep in mind that when you go to college or when you leave the school, there's not going to be anyone to enforce that. And I think the school does do a good job of preparing kids for that, but I think it's an important thing to really keep in mind.
Absolutely, and I think one of the biggest habits I'm going to take with me, even if it is really simple, is making my bed. I mean, it's something I'd never put much thought into before coming here. I mean, I'd throw the sheets back on the bed or whatever, or throw the blanket back on, but actually taking time to fully make my bed properly and make it look nice, and when I leave my room, I can look at it and say, this is something I'm proud of the first thing in the morning, is amazing. It's your first accomplishment of the day. Every habit you do is built off of the first thing you do in the morning. I mean, you have to start your day perfectly. I mean, not perfectly, but you have to start it right. And the perfect way to do that is to make your bed.
I would say what I would take away from this place, fulfilling promises. With this place, in everything that you do, you make a promise. When you show up to school the next day in the correct uniform, that's fulfilling the promise that you made when you first came here, that you're going to show up with a clean uniform, with the right pins, with your name tag, with the right shoes, polished. In everything that I've done here, it's all about fulfilling the promise. It's all about saying I was going to do something and then actually following through with that. And I'm very proud of the things I was able to do because I went here and I was able to learn how to fulfill those promises.
And so one of the pillars that we have here, you all know, is our leader development program.
Right.
In growing your personal leadership skills as a servant leader. What do you all think your biggest leadership lessons are that you'll take with you?
Probably being compassionate. This place, when you're around the amount of kids here, you really learn a lot about who they are. When I've stayed here and when I speak to people who maybe aren't in the same grade as me or maybe are, I learn a lot about their background, where they came from, the type of people they are, and learning to relate to them and not necessarily treat them like just another number is something that, in terms of leadership development, is very important. It's important that you know people and you understand their personalities so that in the future, you're going to be able to get them to do something that needs to be done the right way and the most efficient way. And they'll want to because they actually like you, because you took the time to care about them.
Yeah, I completely echo what Cole's saying. I think he's 100% right. I think what I've learned is leadership is entirely social to, an indescribable amount so. Especially here when not necessarily do I have the power of the pen over my friend Tonton. I can beg him, tell him please, get him to try to do what I need him to do. If he doesn't do it, I can't dock his pay. I can't do anything. It's a social respect between him and I. It's a social respect between myself and all the other cadets here. And the things I've really learned from that is every single time, pretty much, being polite is the fastest, most efficient way. So saying please, thank you, making someone feel heard, talking to someone, looking at someone, is the best way to get them to do something every single time. There's very, 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 very specific cases in which that's not true. So you need to be a flexible leader, situational leader, but definitely the way you talk to people, how you talk to people is the biggest thing I've learned.
A big thing that I learned first coming, because I'd never had an opportunity to lead people before coming here. This is a completely foreign thing to me. And the first lesson was leadership isn't yelling. Leadership isn't raising your voice. I mean, I was a platoon sergeant last year. I worked under Tate, and I was in charge of probably 20 people. And I can count on one hand the amount of times I had to raise my voice with them, because they listened to me when I needed them to listen to me, because I respected them, they respected me. I knew every single one of them. Those were my kids, right? Those were my brothers. They were, my roommates. They were my hallmates, whatever they were, my classmates. They were people too.
I think for me, when I first got here, I watched that year's BC, Grant Seller and Alec Jenkins walk out in their uniforms. And I think I was like, I want to be that. And I think going through like just like they all said, I think communication is probably, and like being kind is like the best thing to do. Like you got to really cater to, kids are all different. Not all kids are the same. That's what I try to teach to my leaders being a company commander. I told them at the beginning of the year that the way you communicate with one kid is not the way you're going to be able to communicate with another kid. There's been no point this year where I've had to raise my voice or yell at my company, not once. And that's because there's a certain level of respect, and there's a certain level of, we know when Tonton's being fun and we know when Tonton's being serious. And when I get up in front of formation, I'm being serious. When you see me out and about on every day, I'm being fun. But when I ask you politely to do something for me, I ask you and I say, please, can you go do this for me? I mean it. Kindness and being respectful is like probably the biggest thing about being a leader here. You gotta respect to be respected.
Yeah. So, you all really talked in your leadership lessons here, alluded to a lot about brotherhood.
Yeah.
And this notion of lifelong friends. And I think you've mentioned that a couple of times. Can you just kind of wrap it up with what that means to you moving forward?
Brotherhood here, I mean, all of us go through things. We're living in a boarding school, around the clock for the entire school year. There's bound to be adversity when we're all packed together. And I think OCC is actually a great example of that with Brotherhood, because we learn to work together. We have to cooperate with each other and learn how to do that effectively so that we can make life the best for one another and ourselves. And so in terms of brotherhood and lifelong friendships, I think when you forge a bond with somebody through any type of adversity, you learn to really trust that person in a way that you don't trust anybody else. You can rely on them. And so with me, I mentioned I still talk to a few people. I mean, they left years ago, but because I built that bond, because I trust them, it's not going to go away. That's somebody I can rely on. And this school makes it very easy for you to build bonds with people like that.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to take this, Brother Tom?
I think that for me, I can say that Brotherhood for me has done a lot for me. It's really allowed me, like I said earlier, to build like lifelong friendships. But like I can say, like Curwen and I came the exact same year. So I can say Curwen and I have this bond where we overcame our plebe training together, our new cadet training together. And that was like, for me, that was one of the biggest and greatest achievements of my life. I can look at all three of like these guys right here and say like we're about to graduate together. We're about to end 2024 together. So, and I wouldn't be happier ending with any other way. So
Appreciate it, Tonton. For me, I think the most important thing I've seen about Brotherhood, the school, is being able to foster an environment where people are comfortable talking to me, comfortable being my brother, essentially. And that builds a bond immediately. I mean, I'm friends with people that are from Korea, that are from China, that are from Canada, from all over the world that I would have never had the opportunity to be friends with if they hadn't gone here when I had. I mean, we don't even have to speak the same language to be a brother. I'm not friends with every single person on campus, but I still consider them to be my brother. I still consider them, if they need help, I'll help you. I'm here for you no matter what.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I appreciate you sharing all of your awesome thoughts today.
well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining
You
us.
all inspire me every day. It is an honor and a blessing to serve with you here.
We appreciate it. We hope to do the same.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know that you all have very bright futures ahead. I just can't wait to see what you accomplish.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, ma'am.
I really
Truly,
appreciate
thank you
it.
for being here. Thank you so much.